Welcome back for another great episode of Talk to Tatiana, and I'm Tatiana Sawyer, and today I'm here with Safie. Safie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tatiana. It's an honor to be here, and I thank you for taking the time to have me.
Awesome. Terrific. So, to get us introduced, I really like to hear it for myself, to get us introduced to who you are. Tell us how you became, what do you do today, and how you got there.
Perfect. So today, I'm a CPA, enrolled agent, and have a master's in tax, and I focus in tax accounting and consulting. That journey started with taking a bookkeeping class in high school. I enjoyed the debits and the credits and all that, and so I decided to major in accounting and at SUNY Albany, and later got my master's in tax online. So that's how it started in high school.
Wow, that's really cool. And how did your entrepreneurial journey start?
Okay, so out of high school, out of college, I went right to working for the Big Four. Um, Stayed there for just about 2 years, started the journey of the master's in tax, went to a mid-sized firm, and all in all, I then went into my enrolled agent and then finally got my CPA because everyone kept asking me, "Are you a CPA?" So that journey in public accounting was about 16 years. And at that time, I started, dabbling a little bit, family and friends, having a small business on the side. But it was when my children, had more activities. My daughter was about to start kindergarten. My son was getting into sports, and I just wanted to have more flexibility. I didn't want to have to ask permission to leave early to go to a game. And so I wanted to be more available for them and just have that flexibility. And so that's what led to me jumping off the entrepreneur cliff per se, and got more into a contracting role at that time just to have some steady flow of income and then continue to build my practice as well.
Oh, cool. So, family first, I hear.
Yes, yes. And peace of
Terrific.
mind.
Yeah.
I was at a point where I was so stressed out in the industry trying to manage all of that that I got myself in like a heart condition, but I was fine. But it was just stress, digestive issues. Like it started to affect my health. And I said, okay, this is where I draw the line. So it's a combination of definitely being there for my family and take care of myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I wish more accountants paid, more attention to family, and then also, whatever the family is. It could be, just a spouse or a
Hmm.
girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever.
Right.
But I wish more people paid attention to their family and their health, because honestly, if you take away everything, there's nothing left except for those two things. And so I wish more people actually discovered that.
Agreed. Definitely.
And so how do you have a niche? How did you grow? What do you feel like was the um, catalyst, and how long did it take you to grow to where you are today?
All right. So my current niche is mental health practice owners, helping six-figure mental health practice owners decrease their tax liability with my three-step entity analysis. That came about officially about a year and a half ago. Um, I started out, jack of all trades, like most accountants, doing a little bit of everything. I mostly in my career was in tax, and so coming out, coming starting my own journey, I had to get a little bit more well-rounded, get back into accounting basics and bookkeeping, and then just consulting. Business owners, especially a lot of startups, which is what I dealt with, just didn't even know where to start. What are the steps? How do I logistically start my business? And so I was involved in like all those different areas, which was a great learning experience because I had to go through that. So it's great to get them started on the journey correctly from the beginning, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed teaching them that process. And what I found after working with 25 different industries, that I'm only one person. Right? I'm only one person. I want to be able to give my clients the best of me, and not be just like a factory. Right? And so I have been told for years I need to pick a niche. Need to pick a niche. And when you're in that scarcity mindset, it was like, okay, no, I need clients. I need clients. I don't care I don't care what they do. I need to build up my income because I left a six-figure income and dropped down significantly when I left. So I was focused on, you know, getting the income back up to support my family, and not so much on being the best to the clients and servicing them the best that I could. And so I finally, I worked with, small business owners, service based primarily. So always had that as my base, and people in real estate as well. I always had mental health practices, practitioners, and mental health counselors, people in consulting. So I've always had them, but it wasn't like a niche. So last year around April or so, I was working with a, marketing program for accountants, and I finally said, okay, let me give it a shot. Let me look through my 20 something different industries that I work with. Let me see who I enjoy working with the best. Love all my clients, but who do I enjoy working with the best? Who wants to do the right thing? Who listens? Um, and it was my mental health practice owners, and so that is what led me to settle on that journey, in addition to the, what I've seen them do for the industry, for my family as well. What they give, and the service they give to us, and how they help us move along in our journeys and so on. And so that was a great way to be able to give back to that industry as well. And so, I had to, learn more and more about them, what the challenges they deal with, what are the specific, you know, specific specific challenges, and also the intricacies of the industry, what's specific to them versus other service-based business owners. So that learning journey started last year, and then starting to now really customize packages and solutions to help them ongoing throughout the year. What I found, this journey, so I started my firm officially in 2016. I did the sole proprietorship route prior to that. So from 2016 to 2022, really, is how long it took me to settle down on a niche. I built up my practice. I left my contracting role, um, really in late 2022, and so I had, took me from 2016, really. No, it took me from 2018 to 2022 to build up enough where I could support myself and my family with just my clients. So that was my journey. So now it's about, okay, I was a jack of all trades. I hustled, did what I had to do. Okay, now let's look at this industry. Let's look at what they need, and put together strategies and solutions to help them be their best, to grow, and then also maintain a work-life balance for myself and my team. So I do have other clients that, stay with me as far as other service industries, but primarily my focus is those mental health practice owners, psychiatrists, those psychologists, psychiatrists, mental health nurse practitioners, psychiatric nurse practitioners. So there's a variety of specialties within that industry. And so currently, I'm changing my model where I'm not offering tax preparation as a standalone service anymore. That's a huge move for me, because 70% of my business was tax prep. But I found that dealing with everyone at one time a year was not a service to them, and was not a service to me and my team. They needed support throughout the year. We need to get ahead of things. We need to minimize penalties and interest. And so I've made a decision about a month ago to move into a monthly model that entails tax preparation, tax planning, quarterly estimated taxes, bookkeeping, depending on the level of service that they need, but definitely having more of an ongoing relationship throughout the year. And so that's where I am today. I'm excited about it. It's been a journey, but I know it's going to be a good move going forward.
Awesome. I love it. So about 7 years, I guess, 20, you said 2016. Yeah, about 6.5 years that it took. Or I guess for specialty, it's well, a year less because you said it's 2022. But I can relate to a lot of the things that you've mentioned, because I've removed standalone tax service, probably, a couple of years ago.
Hmm.
Don't It took me about 3 years to transition to being all of the clients, either transition them to the new model or transition them out.
Hmm. Nice.
In a, in a nice, in a good way, in a supportive way, because I've found the same thing that you found, where when it's just once a year type service, it's a disservice to them, because they
Hmm.
think that they have support and somebody looking out for them. The reality is they're not paying for it, so they're not getting it.
Right.
And so, and it's
Right.
also a disservice to us because we are super stressed out in a short period of time,
Yes.
whereas we work with a lot less clients, but clients that
Right.
we support throughout the year for sure.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
thank you for
Absolutely.
sharing that. It's just,
Yeah.
it's one thing when people hear it from me, but then it's another thing when they hear it from somebody else as well. So definitely, definitely thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
And what do you find to be the most kind of challenging thing in your business, in your practice every day?
Oh man, challenging thing with my clients or personally in my practice?
Both.
Okay. Well, from a client perspective, I find that clients will make decisions and take action before checking with professionals, whether it be legal or their CPAs or accountants, and then come after the fact, and sometime we can't clean things up or it's more costly to clean things up. So, for example, before even starting your practice, find out what the rules are, the specifications, if you have any licensing requirements before you get that bank account set up, before you get that EIN. It's worth it to make the investment on the front end because to go back and try to reverse things, sometimes it's not possible and it's more costly. Um, More costly for tax purposes and also just professional fees, right? Because the cleanup is more than a startup. So I find that making those decisions after the fact, specifically, S corporations, there's a lot of social media hoorah about S corps and when you should have, when you should make the elections and when you shouldn't, and start making it at X amount of dollars, and it's literally a specific analysis for your tax profile that should be done before jumping into that. Then I find that people who do jump into it, they don't know how to be compliant and run it success, run a compliant S corp. They're not on salary. They're taking distributions. They're paying themselves too little. They're still not understanding that quarterly taxes need to be paid, and are surprised when tax bills come up at tax season. So I think that for me on the client side is really making those decisions without getting the guidance on it, or not running a compliant business because they're not understanding maybe what their structure requires. Second thing for me, and this is, something that as a business owner I have to go through as well, but when people are ready to expand, they automatically just say, I'm going to hire a contractor and not aware because they haven't consulted with labor attorney or HR professional how to properly expand, right? So in my example that I see often, um, mental health practice wants to expand, brings on not fully licensed or provisionally licensed staff as contractors. They require supervision, they require training. They can't run their business on their own, so then they're not in business, right? So why are they a contractor, right? So just not understanding the rules, not understanding the risk that they're taking, because I've seen it, especially in New York State, where they've come in and say, this person filed for unemployment, but we don't have them as an employee. Uh-oh, let's look back 5 years, 6, 7 years, and rack up. So, so those are the top two that I see on the client side. Personally, in running a business, I mean, it's always the family dynamics, of the nature of the industry, the demands of tax season, the demands of client emergencies, and really finding that line between having boundaries, but also being a support. And that's why I found that, kind of this restructuring that I'm doing, it's going to be difficult. And, you said it took 3 years. I'm hoping to do it now, like, in the next 3 months. So we'll see how that goes. But I do want to, I don't want people to be left hanging. I do want to provide them resources. And if it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit because if I knew if I didn't make that decision, I knew that next year is going to be the same thing and I can't have another next year. It causes delays. It's not fair to the clients or myself. So it's really just kind of doing what's best for the client and myself and maintaining that work-life balance when in business because I could be having the same kind of stress situation, health issues being in business for myself if I allow it. So really just kind of remembering that I am the CEO, I'm the founder, I can make the decisions, I determine how this firm is going to run, and kind of reminding myself of that. So that is an ongoing process, and but continuing to grow in that area with the support of some great coaches and mentors as well.
Awesome. And I know that you've mentioned, like I said, you have a lot of things that I've personally gone through, and um, really, for me, it was about figuring out my priorities, and my priority is always family first, family and my people. So people who work for me or with me. For me, it was always about that. Um, and I can hear something very similar through what you were saying, and I understand the not wanting to have another tax season like the past one. My past season was actually not my hardest in the last 3 years. Considering 2020 season, 2021, 2022, and 2023. 2023 probably the easiest out of the four, but it was. If you look back, all of the time that I've been in taxes, I feel like it was definitely one of the hardest. I mean, last 3 or 4 years were
Yeah.
definitely hardest ones,
Yeah.
because we did, a lot of accountants took this approach of making as much money as possible with assistance to file PPPs and all of these other things. I took the approach of, because I've already been in the model of supporting the client. They were already paying a monthly retainer. I just felt like, I can't charge them more.
Mm,
And some clients did some of the work themselves, and some
yeah.
clients paid me enough for me to not charge them separately. So for me, it was all about support of them,
Yeah.
um, more than anything else. So I definitely agree with everything that you've shared, and thank you for sharing it. And then I guess my next question is, um, in your career as a public accountant, um, what have you found to be the things that clients do without thinking potentially, and piss us off? Like, I've had some really interesting, things like 1099 consolidated, like scanning them like every other page or backwards or upside down or whatever. What do you have that you've been your personal pet peeve?
The little things, right?
Yeah.
You know, I'm pretty easygoing, but I think as accountants, most of us like structure, right? And organization. So, um, I love helping clients get it together and get organized if they are willing, if they're ready to, right? But I think, for security purposes, most of us have a client portal. We have a set way of communication because we want to protect your information. We want to protect ourselves for liability purposes. And so we want to stick with that, right? And not no one software out there is going to be user friendly for everyone. I get it. But when we have pieces of information coming in from email, from text, from the messaging section of the portal, from the project section of the portal, from the send share a file message of the section of the portal, it can create some chaos, right? Because we're dealing with multiple clients and we're looking to work through, whether it be your bookkeeping, your accounting, your projections, we're looking to work through that in a sequence, right? Where we have all the pieces of the information. And when it's spread out all over the place, coming from different sources, things can get missed. Errors can be made. We may ask for something twice. Um, you may have thought you uploaded something and you didn't. So I think for me, the pet peeve would really just be not following the clear instructions as far as, okay, here's your task, upload your documents here, this is what I need, and so on. And I know technology, it is what it is, right? So we all deal with the scanned papers, the blurriness, sending one page out of five. Like, we need a complete picture and we need it so it's legible. But yeah, I would just say really not adhering to, following the instructions of whatever it works for your accountant. So most should have a portal, some may have another system, an app, or what have you. But you want to follow that process because you have to remember when working with multiple clients, we can't have everyone doing something different because it just leaves room for error.
Absolutely, and I think that for me, it has to do with also explaining the importance of why we ask for certain things. Like, for example, portal is not just something we keep to protect you. It's also something that I'm also in New York State, that I particularly am required to communicate with clients through, not necessarily email, but all of the documents and communication according to the cybersecurity policies, or have to go through a portal, a secure portal. If you send me something, that's your risk. I'm not responsible for it, but There's been so much, and I think the government is trying to kind of combat all kinds of different fraud that
Hmm.
the fraudsters come up with, but that's so important to use a portal. And I know it's painful because it's painful for us too. I think that a lot of people don't understand that it's so painful, but I think that explaining to clients, educating them around why we ask for these things is
Yeah,
super important.
absolutely. It is important because, if they're especially new to working with a professional, it's a learning curve, and I get that. So definitely communication is key.
Yeah. Awesome. So, Safi, can you share, like, if you could go back in time and either change one thing that you did or didn't do, or tell your younger self one thing, what would that be?
Hmm. So I would tell my younger self to get the CPA done right out of school and get it over with instead of taking a 13-year gap. That's what I would tell myself. So I started the process, um, got married, then kids started coming. I have two children. I decided to go with the master's in tax first because company was paying for it. So I was like, okay, why not? Um, and what I found was that the master's in tax was great, but the CPA held much more weight. So then in between that, I said, okay, let me just do the enrolled agent because I'm focused on tax anyway. So then I got the enrolled agent. No one knows what it is. No one knows what it is, right? It's a test you take through the IRS, and it's tax focused. So then I finally said, all right, let me just get the CPA done, and I knocked it out in like 9 months. But that was after having lost parts and so on. So if I could go back, I would have just said, do the CPA, get it out the way before all the responsibilities kicked in, while you're still fresh out of school in that study mindset, and start with that. So that's what I would have done different.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I have done that because our professors kind of brainwashed us in that way,
Nice.
which was fortunate that they did that. So I definitely feel like I was still fresh. Like the only thing is, like, I don't know about you, but I had pretty good professors for pretty much every class except for audit. And the audit professor was a partner at a pretty large accounting firm. They fired him since then, from being a professor. But
Mm.
I've known, and like I knew everything about him except for like the actual audit. So I actually had
Okay,
to take audit exam. I took it last, and I took it 3 times. Second time I got 74, and you need 75 to pass. So
brutal.
it was an interesting journey, but everything else I passed with flying colors. But audit was because I didn't learn it in school. It took me three tries to do it. But
Yeah,
that's
audit
that's
was my
I
toughest. Audit.
yeah.
I took audit in college. I was like, yeah, this is not for me. Nothing against it, but lowest grade I got, it may have been a B minus or whatever, but still, I was like, I just got to get out of this class. And same thing, I think I got a 73 one time and then had to redo it. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for being a guest, for sharing your insights. And how can people find and connect with you if they're a mental health professional and they're looking for support that you provide? How can they find and connect with you?
absolutely. So you can find me on social media, Instagram at Safie Russell CPA. That is S as in Sam, A, F as in Frank, I-E, Russell, Russell CPA. And also that same website, you can access a free ebook. So SafieRussellCPA.com, a free ebook about 12 different tax write-offs. And you can find me on Facebook as well with the same information. Just search for my name and it'll come up.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Safi, for being a great guest. It was very interesting and cool to connect with you. And I hope
Same
that you've
here.
also found some good content for yourself as well.
Absolutely. Thank you for allowing me to share and having me here.
Awesome. And if you're listening on the podcast platform, the links to Safi's website and social media will be posted in the show notes. If you're watching this on YouTube, you will see it below the video. And I hope to see you next week for another great episode of Talk to Tatiana.